To claim the geographical North Pole in 1908, an expedition had to traverse 500 miles of dynamic, unpredictable sea ice to reach exactly 90 degrees north. This environment offers no solid ground. The Arctic pack ice operates like a moving conveyor belt, constantly fracturing, colliding, and rebuilding its own surface geometry over a dark ocean abyss. When two men emerged from this void in 1909, claiming victory, they triggered an immediate crisis in expeditionary verification. Robert Peary was a veteran of 30 years in the high Arctic, a man who had already sacrificed 8 toes to frostbite in his obsessive pursuit of the summit. But days before Peary reached civilization, his former colleague, Peary Cook, wired international news outlets claiming he had reached the pole a full year earlier. Both explorers laid claim to the same geographical prize, yet both lacked independent, scientifically rigorous primary data to prove they actually stood there. Peary's doctrine for the 1908 attempt was born from failure. His previous expedition in 1906 ended in forced retreat 175 miles short of the goal. That experience led him to abandon the heavy wool clothing, cumbersome canvas tents, and tinned rations that had plagued prior European missions. He adopted Inuit thermal layering, utilizing caribou skins with the fur facing inward to trap body heat, alongside compacted snow structures that maximized caloric conservation. He also integrated the Inuit dietary practice of consuming raw, freshly killed meat, a necessity that provided the vitamin C required to prevent scurvy. For the 1908 push, Peary mobilized a massive payload aboard the Roosevelt: 24 American crewmen, 19 Inuit specialists, 15 tons of pemmican, and 70 tons of whale meat. The biological engine of this transport system relied on 133 Greenland dogs, animals bred for high payload traction in negative temperatures, where domesticated breeds would freeze. Peary achieved logistical superiority by integrating these millennia-old indigenous survival mechanics into his Western framework, pairing the transit power of a steel-reinforced ship with the thermal and nutritional performance of Inuit technology. To project an assault team to the top of the world, Peary engineered a complex, echeloned resupply architecture. The Peary system functioned as a human conveyor belt. Multiple support teams advanced in stages, breaking trail and establishing supply caches before systematically retreating south. Peary issued precise orders for these retreats. Support nodes detached and transferred their surplus payload to the forward vanguard at distinct latitude markers: 84 degrees 29 minutes, 85 degrees 23 minutes, and 86 degrees 38 minutes. The system relied on an attritional math. As the payload dwindled, weaker dogs were executed, their flesh providing caloric fuel for the surviving pack pulling the vanguard. This strategy exacted a heavy human toll as well. Professor Ross Marvin died at the 86-degree, 38-minute mark during his homeward retreat. It was later revealed that Marvin's death was not an environmental accident, but a fatal encounter with an Inuit companion, exposing a severe breakdown of operational discipline in extreme isolation. The Peary system was a cannibalistic supply chain, meticulously designed to sacrifice its lower tiers to propel a microscopic assault team to the apex. The most scrutinized maneuver of the expedition occurred on April 1, 1909, exactly 133 nautical miles short of the pole. Captain Robert Bartlett navigated the expedition to this point. He was a veteran mariner and the only other highly qualified celestial navigator on the ice. At this juncture, Peary issued a direct order for Bartlett to turn back, removing pure oversight from the final assault phase. Proving a 90-degree north position requires specialized mathematical skill, calculating the angle between the horizon and the sun using the intricate optics of a sextant. Peary proceeded with an assault team comprised of 4 Inuit guides and his assistant, Matthew Henson. While highly skilled in ice travel, none of these 5 men possessed the formal training to independently verify their location. By removing Bartlett, Peary ensured he alone would control the navigational authority of the final sprint. Without independent verification, historians must audit Peary's self-reported velocity. He claimed his team covered those final 133 nautical miles in just 5 days. To achieve this, the team would have needed to maintain a sustained speed of approximately 26 miles per day. This demanded velocity was double their previous maximum pace and required maneuvering heavy sledges across a jagged terrain of ice pressure ridges. The primary source documents for April 6, the specific day the geographic pole was purportedly reached, only serve to add to the historical uncertainty. Journal entries for the summit were left inexplicably sparse. Original logbook pages from that time frame appear to have been modified or removed before Peary submitted them for institutional review. The combination of mathematically improbable velocity and redacted primary sources severely compromises the reliability of Peary's claim. These irregularities align with Peary's prior behavior. During his 1906 expedition, Peary mapped and claimed the discovery of an island he called Crockerland. Crockerland was entirely fictitious. Peary invented the landmass to secure future financial patronage from a wealthy backer named George Crocker. This tendency toward exaggeration was mirrored by Peary Cook. In 1906, Cook claimed to be the first man to summit North America's highest peak, Denali. Years later, his guide signed an affidavit admitting the expedition had stopped far short and the summit photographs were staged on a lower ridge. When the University of Copenhagen examined Cook's 1908 North Pole claim, he failed to produce any cached records, leading them to rule his claim unproven. Peary, however, utilized the National Geographic Society to quickly validate his claim. The Society's examining committee consisted largely of his own financial backers, who affirmed his achievement without releasing raw data to independent scrutiny. At the turn of the century, unexplored geography functioned as a high-stakes commodity where fabricated claims could be presented as fact to an uncritical public. Modern forensic consensus leans against Peary's exact achievement. In 1989, polar explorer Wally Herbert conducted an exhaustive audit of Peary's navigational records. Herbert concluded that Peary suffered severe navigational drift, failing to correct for the moving ice, and likely missed the exact geographic pole by 30 to 60 miles. Visual evidence adds further complexity. Modern photogrammetric analysis of Peary's summit photographs measures the solar geometry of the shadows cast by the men to estimate their actual latitude. Yet empirical counter-evidence exists. In 2005, explorer Tom Avery launched an expedition to replicate Peary's journey. Using identical wooden sledges and canine teams, Avery matched Peary's timeline almost exactly, proving that the controversial 5-day sprint was mechanically possible. We will likely never know the exact coordinates Peary reached, but the bitter Peary Cook rivalry triggered a total destruction of honor-based verification. The 1909 controversy established the rigorous, data-driven verification standards that govern modern exploration, ending the era where an achievement could be validated by the honor of the explorer alone.